Let's do this. Hello everyone, my name's Aloubell, and for those who don't know, Wish is a Disney movie that was released in November 2023 and was meant to be the company's 100-year cinematic celebration. The story is about a 17-year-old girl named Asha who lives in the peaceful kingdom of Rosas. The kingdom is led by a sorcerer named King Magnifico, who, due to some trauma that happened in his youth, created the kingdom not only as a safe haven for all of its inhabitants, but as a means for people to have a chance to have their deepest wish granted by him. Asha initially desires to work for Magnifico as his apprentice, but when she discovers that the king has no intention of granting every wish, while also refusing to give the memory of their wishes back to the people, Asha makes a powerful wish upon a star, resulting in said star dropping from the skies to help her. With the aid of her friends and the people of Rosas, Asha is able to overpower a corrupted Magnifico with their combined magic of hope, all while learning the lesson that you don't need to rely on someone else to make your dreams come true. The power to make it happen comes from within. Wish was not exactly met with a ton of positivity. Granted, there are people who legitimately like it and find it cute. At the end of the day, everything has its fans. But the general buzz I've been absorbing is that this was such a huge disappointment full of way too many missed opportunities. Not only from the concepts we could have gotten but didn't, per the knowledge obtained from the art book as well as some insider knowledge from the production team itself, but even if you didn't have any knowledge of what could have been, you could take the movie on its own and still be disappointed. After all, this movie has been hyped up for a few years now. This was supposed to be Disney's big 100-year cinematic celebration. It was supposed to pay homage to past Disney films and include some of the classic Disney magic that many of us have come to miss. You have the non-twist, charismatic villain, you have the villain song, you have other songs, the plethora of references to other movies. I'm not even sure if I caught all the references, but I did pick up on quite a bit of them. Asha's friends are the 7 dwarves. Basically, we'll talk about that later, Asha wants to be the sorcerer's apprentice. There's the somewhat cringy Peter Pan-ish cameo. You also have the not-so-hidden Mickeys, the sparkly tribute to all the Disney movies during the end credits, and quite a few others I don't feel like pointing out. Overall, did Disney hit the mark with this movie when it comes to being a celebration of 100 years? Personally, I don't think so. But we'll explain why as the review goes on. But as far as audience reception is concerned, Wish had a very interesting set of circumstances to work with before it even came out. First, this movie has been hyped up for years, so you can imagine the high expectations. Second, due to the current climate and shenanigans going on over at Disney, there's a faction of people who already have a negative connotation with the company, so they went in with not that great of a mindset to begin with. So, many of the people who went into it with too high expectations seem to have been massively disappointed, and those with too low expectations were just confirmed in their beliefs. Me personally, I tried to go into this movie with as much of an open mind as possible. I won't lie and say I haven't heard things about this movie. I was quite determined to not watch too many reviews and wait until I saw it for myself. But I caved out of curiosity and saw, at most, 2 reviews, while absorbing just general thoughts and opinions from comments here and there. So, I got a bit spoiled on some plot elements, but mostly remained unaware of other things. Regardless of my efforts, in the end, I picked up on what some of the criticisms of the movie were. I'll admit that hearing said criticisms didn't exactly instill a bunch of confidence in me, nor did it motivate me to want to see it. But due to certain life circumstances, which put me in a situation where the movie was put on by children's request and not mine, I ended up catching parts of it and ultimately decided it wasn't too bad, and that I might as well watch the darn thing on its entirety, on my own, and form my own opinions. Unfortunately, it's hard to know which opinions are 100% my own since I did go into the movie knowing some pitfalls to look out for. Would I have had the same thoughts had I not known what others thought? Who knows? But regardless, we jump in anyway. Part 1. The story. I already gave you the plot synopsis, so there's no need to reiterate it, But overall, I think the story on its own isn't bad. Just from concept alone, it had a lot of potential. And as far as I'm concerned, the movie was paced fairly well. Well, except for 2 points. One of which is a song that we'll discuss in the music section, and there's also this odd point between Magnifico going down in his lair to do evil magical things, and then the immediate next scene he arrives at Asha's house to confront her about Star because someone ratted her out. I feel like we missed a scene because it just felt really abrupt. I'm not saying we needed a scene of him being told about her. There just needed to be more time in between, someone else besides me has magic. I must find them. And then, oh, I found them. From what I heard, the initial concept included Star being this magical boy that Asha was going to fall in love with, and I also heard that the villains were going to be both Magnifico and his wife Amaya. Hey everyone, this is Aloe in the editing process. I have to add a bit of an asterisk here just in case there are folks out there listening to this like a podcast and not watching the screen to see the little notes I wrote. After looking into it a bit more, I can't find official proof that Asha and Starboy were supposed to be a romantic couple. The images on screen show what was going on in the developmental phase for Star, and it doesn't say anywhere that the two of them were supposed to be a couple, so I can't 100% say with certainty that that was the plan. However, I can certainly see how people would come to that conclusion given the original lyrics of At All Costs, the demo of which you can listen to on YouTube, and with how Asha and Starboy are depicted in the concept art. And even further than that, one of the quotes from the art book says that the two of them were soulmates. Sure, some people are of the thought that platonic soulmates are a thing, but more often than not, stories tend to give it a more romantic coating. I don't believe anyone on production has officially admitted that the romantic subplot was a thing, but again, I won't blame anyone who thinks that the ship almost came to be. I would have definitely wanted some romance, for sure. Starboy and Asha would have been a cute ship. But as easy as it can be to shake our fists at Disney for not delivering something cool and sweet such as this romance, we can't fully blame them for not doing something that was never officially part of the concept. Sure, you can be upset that they potentially never even considered a romance for the 100-year cinematic celebration, but that would be going down a different rabbit hole regarding modern Disney's apparent allergy to romance. So yeah, I just didn't want to share any inaccurate info. Maybe they were going to be lovers and no one on the production team wants to admit it. Maybe they weren't. Anywho, back to the original video. You guys, if all this is true, then we were robbed. A villain couple? Disney has never done that before. Instead, we get this girl boss benevolent queen at the end of the story who don't need no man. Ugh. And I don't know what possessed Disney to not make this a love story between Asha and Starboy. Disney was founded on love stories. If this movie wanted to pay homage to the classics, we should have gotten one. But aside from those gripes over what we didn't get, I'll focus on what we did get. Again, with what we have, it's not a bad story. Or rather, to be more accurate, it's not a bad concept. Technically. I just think how some of it played out didn't logically work. Okay, so a big part of the conflict hinges on the fact that Magnifico doesn't give back the wishes that he's given, regardless of whether or not he grants them. When you give your wish to Magnifico, you lose your memory of that wish. You follow me so far? This condition isn't hidden from anybody. Magnifico is actually quite upfront and honest about the whole operation. People willingly give up their wishes to him for the chance that he might grant them. He only grants 12 to 14 wishes a year, and new people keep coming to live in Rosas. So, statistically speaking, at the rate he's going, then no, most people won't have their wishes granted, and everyone should know that. Asha should not have been surprised that most people won't get their wishes granted. I'm not saying that Magnifico was necessarily in the right for not giving the wishes back that he has no intention of granting, but the fact of the matter remains that they were given up willingly, and Asha went to steal them. She is technically the bad guy in this scenario when you think about it. Well-intentioned, sure, but she's taking someone else's property. And she did kind of cause most of the conflicts in this movie. Is it reasonable for people to question when or if they'll get their wishes granted, or if they could make a new wish, or if they could have their old one back? Sure, but the fact that it took several years, if not decades, for people to start questioning things just feels off to me. The two ways that this could have been handled would be that 1, the people get their wishes taken without their consent, or 2, if anyone over the years starts to question the system, they get their memory wiped or something. I don't know. It just really seems like Asha only questioned the system when it became inconvenient for her and her family. Sure, knowing her personality, she probably would have noticed the injustice at some point had she been hired as the apprentice and wasn't trying to get something from Magnifico, but it's hard to say. Now, is this whole situation a deal breaker? No, at least not for me. I can acknowledge that I'm approaching this conflict not only in hindsight, but also from someone looking in from the outside. It's easy for us to say that the citizens are all foolish for not questioning things sooner, but I'm sure such things happen in real life as well. You get so used to how things are that you don't take a step back to realize that something is wrong or whatever until something happens that brings attention to it. I'm pretty sure there was an MLP episode teaching that exact lesson. Anywho, it's whatever. The movie didn't approach the situation I would have, but it's fine. Also, what would happen if someone were to tell someone else their wish before they gave it to Magnifico? Wouldn't they, theoretically, get that wish back? Or do they also give up their desire for said wish as well once they've given it to him? This is just me being nitpicky, but I'm legitimately curious. The chances of absolutely no one telling their spouse, family, or best friends their wish is very, very low. This whole story hinges on everyone keeping their wish a secret, which I just find odd. Again, this doesn't break the story for me. I just feel like the whole wish mechanic should have been planned out just a wee bit more. So overall, the story in itself could use a few tweaks, but on its own and not getting into the characters and missed opportunities, it's fine. Having said that, things do kind of break down when you take the characters into consideration. Part 2, the characters. Let's start with our main character, Asha. Gonna be honest, she's not that different from the adorable, quirky female protagonist we've been seeing the past few years. Is she 100% cookie cutter? No, but I think you could easily swap her out with Mirabelle or Anna and nothing would really change. Asha is nice, awkward, generous, a free thinker, sacrificing, and resourceful, much like many of the recent Disney heroines. But she's also completely naive in her thinking, but instead of learning, she stays the same person she started as because the story frames her as 100% right. Oh look, she is a bit different from those past heroines because nothing about her really changes, and she's not allowed to be wrong. But speaking of her being generous, we know Asha for 5 minutes, during most of which a song is happening, where she's giving a tour of Rosas, and then Queen Amaya says that she admires Asha for being so generous and looking out for people. And during those 5 minutes, I didn't see any evidence of that. And even if I did, it would have been cool to see Amaya noticing this from afar, or something. Does Asha giving a tour count as her looking out for people? I mean, I guess. Unless she's getting paid, in which case, that's her job. I don't know. I just wasn't convinced. Regardless, the movie initially told us what to think about Asha without showing us, and that bugged me. But yeah, aside from those things, I don't have much to say about her. The best thing about Asha is her design. It's very aesthetically pleasing. In isolation, I mean. I'll explain more about what I mean by that later. Her and Magnifico are the most interesting humans to look at, in my opinion. Moving on, let's talk about Asha's kid, Valentino. And I don't mean her actual child, I mean he is a kid, as in a baby goat. This thing didn't need to talk. 98% of the time, his talking did not contribute to the plot, and most of the time when he did talk, characters didn't acknowledge what he said or even engage in a conversation with him. The one thing with his talking that he did contribute to could have easily been replaced by any other character. At another time, He convinced some of the king's horses to help Asha's family, and they immediately helped. For one, I don't know why they'd switch alliances so easily, but also, this could have just been another character asking for help. Star might have actually made more sense here. Valentino's talking was almost purely for comedic effect, and he wasn't even funny. The joke is literally that he's a baby goat and he has a deep voice. Okay, actually, he said one joke that did manage to make me laugh. Before the climax of the movie, Asha is on the run and she's trying to find her friends in the middle of a crowd. When she expresses that she's trying to look for them, something along the lines of, "I need to find my friends," Valentino, who is also behind this crowd, and who is also very low to the ground, considering he's a baby goat, then goes on to say, "All I see are feet." I don't know. Something about the setup and delivery of that line legitimately got me. It's dumb, but it got me. Aside from that, much of his character was unnecessary. He explains jokes too often, and more often than not, he's just an unhelpful liability. The fact that he didn't get a heart-to-heart conversation with Asha was another missed opportunity. Up next is Star. Star is an adorable little merchandising opportunity. I truly wonder how many toy sales he's made because he has such a simple design, but he's so cute. Would I have preferred a Star Boy who could have had a cute little romantic subplot with Asha? Of course. Disney's refusal to go back to their fairy tale romance trope, especially for the 100th year cinematic celebration, is just so fascinating and misguided. But let me not judge Star on what he could have been, and more on what he is. A chance to sell toys. What can I say? He's just cute. I mean, he's also adventurous, curious, fun-loving, a bit infantile, brave, and loyal. I'm pretty sure I got more from him than I did Valentino. Honestly, the biggest bummer with Star is that his magic isn't very impressive. The biggest thing he does is make animals and inanimate objects talk. I mean, he gives Asha the ability to use magic on her own, which implies that he can do more, but he just doesn't. He just makes animals talk. How magical. He's a literal wishing star, and that's the best he can do? Let's actually discuss the magic in this movie as a whole. During the first song of the movie, Welcome to Rosas, Rosas is described as this wonderful magical place, but we don't really see anything magical happening. Well, nothing that impressive anyway. Everything that Asha was trying to sell were all just possibilities. Rosas is led by a sorcerer who can do, theoretically, a lot. And yet, all we see from him is wish stuff. He only grants like 2 wishes and they're not even that impressive. And evil green magic stuff that just serves kind of like the Green Lantern power, except scaled down tremendously, after he gets possessed. And then we have Star, a literal magical wishing star, and the best he can do is zip around and make things talk. He also made some books float, but mostly it's just making things talk. Disney, come on. 100 years of magic and that's all you can do? You had the opportunity to go all out with this. You could have went ham like Genie from Aladdin, and the best you could do was making things talk? If Star's lack of ability isn't an indication of the lack of creativity and imagination we've seen from Disney lately, I don't know what is. In any case, Star is cute. Underwhelming, and single-handedly encapsulating some of the biggest problems with Disney nowadays, but cute, and he's important to the plot. And then we have Asha's friends. Like I said before, they are all a reference to the 7 dwarves. And while I appreciate the reference, I don't think they were all necessary to the plot. I don't tremendously care to learn their individual names, but Happy, Dopey, Sneezy, and to some degree Bashful could have all not been here, and nothing would have changed.
But Aloe, Bashful contributed to the plot by providing a safe haven for the group to go to when Magnifico was hunting them down.
Sure, but Doc here easily could have done that since she worked in the castle, and she could have been written to know some secret rooms within it. I don't know. I guess we could keep Bashful in, but aside from her little ninja/Batman trick of disappearing and just being kind of shy, she doesn't have too much of a personality, so nothing would really be lost. Grumpy isn't useful to the plot all that tremendously either, but unlike Valentino, I was actually kind of entertained by him. I heard that quite a few people were annoyed by Grumpy, and I can easily see how they could be, so I won't knock anyone who does find him annoying. But, I don't know, he just has that kind of gremlin energy that I don't quite mind. My favorite line of his was after Asha admitted to her friends that she wished upon a star, and after a brief pause of everyone staring at her, Grumpy's reply was, "What are you, 5?" And again, it's dumb, but it made me crack up. Guys, my sense of humor might be broken. I don't know. Of the 7 not dwarves, Doc and Sleepy serve the most purpose to the plot, with Doc being Asha's best friend who actually helps her out and does stuff, and Sleepy being a source of conflict and helps move the plot forward. Next, we have Asha's mom and her grandfather that everyone calls Saba. I don't have much to say about them. They exist. Saba is Asha's motivation, so that's a thing. I really have nothing left to say about them. So let's discuss King Magnifico, the villain of our story. Magnifico is a tragic character. Unfortunately, the movie doesn't treat him that way, which is a problem. Before I get into my spiel, I just want to point out that Magnifico is definitely the most entertaining character in this movie. Regardless of your personal opinions about his role in the story, regardless of the missed opportunities, you can tell Chris Pine had fun playing him. It was great seeing his range between gentle and kind and enraged and unhinged. There is a clear difference in his delivery from before he gets possessed to after, and I think it was handled fairly well. I also tend to like characters who are full of themselves, so I liked the performance overall. And in isolation from the context, Magnifico is just fun to watch with his mannerisms and the pizzazz he adds to situations. And when he's being sincere, you really feel it. He has a warmth and kindness you want to support and get behind. And actually, when I think about it, he's technically Rosas's dad. Like, he comes off as an overworked father, and he comes with dad jokes and everything, so that's the kind of feel that Chris Pine's, that his performance is giving off. By no means the best or most entertaining Disney villain, but I was still, entertained for the most part. But now let's talk about backstory and motivation. See, when Magnifico was a child, his village got destroyed, and this motivated him to learn magic and create a kingdom that is totally safe from such dangers. Knowing how easily one's dreams and wishes could die, he wanted no one else to feel that pain and took it upon himself to be the one to make people's wishes come true. It's a very noble thing to do, and everyone loved him for his charisma and the services he provided for everyone. Over the years, he acquired a bit of an ego and started to go on a power trip where he enjoyed being the only one who could use magic and being the only one that people could rely on. No one was allowed to learn magic except for him. Granted, part of the reason for that was to keep Rosa safe, but the other part was a power thing. But even while his love for power was quite prevalent, the movie showed us that he was quite sincere in his goal to protect people's wishes and be the best king he could for Rosas. We were shown this sincerity during his first conversation with Asha, where he showed legitimate compassion for her and her situation, and he related it to his own traumatic past. Sure, one could see it as a flaw that he wanted to remain the only one with the ability to use magic, but it didn't really seem like anyone took issue with this rule. In fact, with the exception of Sleepy, virtually all of Rosas was okay with the system and trusted Magnifico to take care of them and their futures. So yeah, despite Magnifico not giving the wishes back that he had no intention of granting, no one was really hung up about it. You could say it's wrong or it's a flaw that Magnifico won't give these wishes back, but they were willingly given, so he both has no obligation to, and everyone's life was pretty great. I'd also like to point out that I am of the camp who thinks that Magnifico had a good point when denying Saba's wish. If Saba's wish is solely to inspire people without specifying how, then yeah, although it's unlikely, Saba could have wished to inspire people to do evil things. And yes, I know, in the little wish bubble, it shows that he's playing an instrument, so he likely wants to inspire people with his music. But for some reason, that didn't quite translate, so all we know is that he wants to inspire people. Which, yeah, it's vague. Magnifico was right to not grant vague wishes. He still should have given them back, just to be nice, but he's within his right to not grant them. And you can even make the argument that he doesn't need to give the vague wishes back to people because on the chance that these vague wishes do have evil or nefarious intentions, then it's best the person doesn't get that desire to do the bad thing and Rosa stays safe. Like, sure, they could have went with Asha's idea that if their wish was indeed bad, then they could be stopped if an attempt to make it into reality was made. But why risk it? And sure, he could give back the wishes that aren't necessarily bad, but more useless for helping Rosas as a whole. But again, Rosas is basically a paradise, and 99% of the citizens are living their best life, so Magnifico was once again within his rights and wasn't doing anything objectively wrong at this point. More evidence towards Magnifico not being that bad of a guy was when he felt threatened due to Star's presence and he was tempted to use the forbidden dark magic book to gain more power. His wife Amaya was able to talk him down. Out of his love for her, and him knowing legitimately that using dark magic was wrong, he held back from using it. Magnifico was trying to do things the fair and honest way. Now, was Magnifico 100% nice? No. When Asha challenged him, he became petty and spiteful to the point of emotionally hurting her and her family. Obviously, that's not cool. Does this make him a villain? Not necessarily. More of a jerk than anything. We also see a bit of a complex with him in the movie where he gets ticked off or bothered from people not respecting / admiring him as a person, a king, or a protector, and only seeing him as someone who can grant wishes. This then got me thinking, why does he only grant one wish a month? From what I can tell, he has the power to grant wishes whenever he wants, with little to no effort, so why take that long to do it? One of the reasons I can think of is that it keeps the people of Rosas reliant on him. If he grants all of the wishes he approves of at once, then people won't need him anymore. Theoretically. Or, he could be trying to keep Rosas from becoming too chaotic with all of the magical shenanigans. Or, again, something that's also likely is that if he grants wishes too often, then the people will start to notice the ones that aren't being granted, and they may start to question why they aren't being granted. And Magnifico doesn't want anyone to get on his case. Or start a coup. With reasons number 1 and 3, he gives the people just enough of what they want to keep them wanting more without them noticing a flaw in the system. Plus, he has a part of them always with him, almost always at all times. So, with the persistent hope of getting it back, with interest, and being further motivated by seeing someone else get their wish, the people remain optimistic, and still reliant on him to deliver. So, his biggest thing really is that he wants power, but at the same time, he legitimately wants what's best for Rosas while also wanting to be seen as something more than just a wish granter. In other words, he's like a nicer version of Drago Bloodfist from How to Train Your Dragon 2. I mean, think about it. They both have a tragic backstory where they lost so much and then they go on to achieve this great power that allows them to make sure that such a tragedy never happens again. However, they use this tragedy and motivation as a cover-up for their real goal of gaining as much power as possible and having people submit to them. So they both started off with good intentions, but things got sour. The difference between Magnifico and Drago is that Magnifico still has the capability of showing compassion and empathy, self-control, and again, legitimately wants to help his people. His desire for power, in his case, initially, doesn't manifest as anything that bad. The people of Rosas are happy and taken care of. Drago, on the other hand, hurts people without giving it a second thought and enslaves innocent creatures. Magnifico, as opposed to Drago, has the potential to be reasoned with. Magnifico wants to be appreciated for more than just his magic, but his ego and desire for power prevent him from being as altruistic and service-oriented as he could be. He could always go out and do things for his people on a regular basis and show them that he's more than just a wish granter, but he doesn't do that. He mostly just keeps to himself, shows his face to people, as the figurehead of his country, and is just the wish guy. It even shows during his song that he's willing to volunteer others to complete services rather than do it himself. So at the end of the day, while his people do appreciate him, they mostly like him for his good looks, his fancy magic spells that look cool, and what he could possibly do for them rather than liking him for his character. But the true tragedy comes when he gives into his frustration and temptation and uses dark magic from the forbidden spellbook. This causes him to get possessed by the dark magic, and his desire for power goes up 200% to the point where he's willing to destroy and absorb the energy from people's wishes, threaten his wife, physically harm Asha, possess Asha's friend, and enslave the entire town. All of these things he would not have done otherwise had he not touched that book. From the moment he becomes possessed, he no longer has any agency over what's happening. The movie acknowledges that it was the magic that changed him, and that he's not naturally that malicious. It is only at this point that he becomes a villain. In which case, no, Disney, Magnifico is not a classic Disney villain because he wasn't evil to begin with, and he didn't have bad intentions. He got turned evil at or after the halfway point. And if you really think about it, it's kind of all Asha's fault. I'll give it to you that he's not a twist villain, but you messed up your supposed quote-unquote return to the classic Disney villain just by making him too decent of a guy to begin with. He was turned evil against his will, and that's not how it's supposed to work. Why on earth didn't you go with the 100% evil villain couple? The gold mine was right there! The movie goes on to explain that there's absolutely nothing that can turn Magnifico back to normal. He will be forever evil. And what's worse, his wife Amaya doesn't seem too torn up about it. She moves on a little too quickly. I respect that she wants to help take him down once he's made the evil switch. He needs to be taken down for Rosas' sake, but once he's defeated and trapped in his scepter, instead of being grieved that she'll never have the husband she loved back again, she cracks a joke and sends him to the dungeon, more than happy to rule Rosas by herself. Excuse me, what? The love of her life is potentially gone forever and she goes on to party with Rosas as if everything was right in the world? Meanwhile, Magnifico is stuck no longer being himself, trapped in a tiny space. To make this whole situation less awful, there's only one of two ways that this could have played out, aside from the evil villain couple thing. One, all of Rosas is grieved from the loss of their king. They know he didn't mean to do the things he did. Amaya dedicates the rest of her life to finding a way to reverse the dark magic on him, looking towards the future with hope. Maybe Asha can become her apprentice or something and they go off to learn magic together. Or two, if we really want this to be an homage to classic Disney movies, have Amaya kiss Magnifico and have True Love's kiss break the spell. When Magnifico is back to his right frame of mind, he finally realizes his wrongs and apologizes to everyone. This whole situation helps him to become a better king, and maybe he even takes Asha as his apprentice and he teaches her magic, showing that he's finally ready to share his power. Honestly, the ending of the movie bothers me the most with how they handled Magnifico. They already messed up in terms of making him a classic Disney villain, so might as well try to redeem him or at least provide some hope for his future. Because he didn't deserve this fate. I didn't feel satisfied when Magnifico lost. I just felt bad for him. I'll say it again. Magnifico is a tragic character, and the movie doesn't treat him as one. And that's a problem. I've kind of already spoken a bit about Amaya. Aside from her absolutely awful conclusion, before that, she was just a nice, supportive, benevolent queen who loved her husband and the people of Rosas. Other than how she was at the end, she's not that exciting of a character. At least not to me. Before we go on to part 3, if you're enjoying this video, then show me you're a star by hitting the like button and subscribe for more reviews, rants, and rewrites. If you want to support me even more, then click join and become a channel member where you can get cool perks such as, but not limited to, early access to videos as well as live streams. Follow me on my socials in the description and be sure to join our community Discord, link also in the description. If you're still watching at this point, put the shooting star emoji in the comments. Thank you! Part 3. Art and Animation. From the very moment I saw the animation, I immediately thought, is this Sophia the First? It looks like a Sophia the First episode. Granted, a slightly more expensive and ever so slightly more polished Sophia the First episode, but nevertheless, The animation looks like it's more meant for a TV special rather than some grand cinematic experience. The animation/CG style in Sophia the First was my least favorite thing about the show, so I wasn't all that thrilled with Wish's look. I understand they were going for a CGI style that gives the feel of hand-drawn 2D, but no it doesn't? And also, why not just make it hand-drawn? I can almost guarantee that many, if not most, Disney fans at this point might appreciate a good hand-drawn movie. Whether or not it takes longer, we would have waited. From what I heard, the initial intention was for this to be in 2D, but because of stuff that happened in production, they couldn't go through with it. Maybe it was a time thing, I don't know. But if that's the case, I'm surprised this movie wasn't cooking in the oven longer than it was. This is supposed to be the movie that celebrates 100 years of Disney. You'd think this would be in preparation for years just to get the fine-tuning just right. Among other things, this movie should have been hand-drawn just to reference and pay respect to the company's humble beginnings. And just for the record, I'm not saying this movie looks bad. I understand the criticism of how it looks unfinished, but to me, it's technically fine. A little cheap looking, but serviceable. Again, I would have preferred hand-drawn, as I always do, in 98% of circumstances, but if someone said they adored the animation and art in this movie, I wouldn't bat an eye at it. The animation itself is smooth, and I do like the watercolor backgrounds. Granted, now after someone has said it, they do look a bit flat, sometimes, if not most of the time. My favorite shot of the movie might have to be the imagery at the end when the wishes are given back to the people of Rosas. It's so sparkly and pretty, and I wouldn't mind having that as a desktop wallpaper. All of that iridescent blue on the backdrop of night with the architecture, it just looks so pretty. I do take issue with the color palette of the movie though. With the exception of Star, everything is so unsaturated and cold. There are some warmer and contrasted colors here and there, but it's mostly so dull looking. Everything just kind of meshes together and it's not exciting to look at. I'm honestly surprised they didn't have Asha wearing something that makes her stand out more. Speaking of Asha, regarding her animation, as someone who used to wear box braids, I don't think they whoosh in the wind the way the movie wants you to think they do. This is just a nitpick. I know it's a fantasy movie with talking animals and magic, but I just wanted to point that out. It doesn't break anything, I just found it a little humorous is all. Anyway, yes, the colors are boring. Star's vibrant yellow, Magnifico's evil green, the visuals in the animal song, and the glowing blue orbs are the nicest bits of pleasing contrast to everything else. Once again, Rosas is advertised as this amazing place, but it is almost by far one of the dullest locations I've ever seen in a Disney movie. 100 years, you guys! Add some color and life to this.
But Aloe, an argument can be made that the reason why everything looks so dead is because Magnifico has people's wishes, and upon forgetting said wishes, they all become a shell of their former self to some degree, so the dullness kind of makes sense.
You're assuming that. But sure, let's consider your idea. If that were the case, then why were the newcomers of the island so amazed when they looked around Rosas? Asha may have been telling them that the place is cool, but they were gasping in awe as they beheld its dullness. Maybe these guys have the contact lenses version of the glasses from Free Guy, because I most definitely am not seeing the marvel that they are. And second, a great way to represent people getting their spark back would have been for Rosas and its people to become more vibrant and colorful at the end of the movie. That actually would have been a clever thing to do, but the fact that there's so little change in the end is lame. The best character animations go to Magnifico and Star. Villains, when done right, and I'm not necessarily saying that Magnifico is the best villain, because once again, no he's not, tend to be animated in a fun way, and Magnifico has some really smooth and solid animations on him that really give him some personality, especially during a song. Star is the simplest design, as he's just a soft 3D, star. And he has the simplest face of everyone too, with his eyes and mouth being simple, solid, colored shapes. But the animators did their best to make him so animated and expressive, and had him move his arms and legs as much as he could. I know Star gets a lot of flack for existing, over Starboy, and I get it, but I don't know. I'm a sucker for cute things, and Star was cute. He looked cute and he acted cute. Obvious toy sales? Yes, but cute nonetheless. Would I have preferred Starboy? Again, 100% yes, but with what we have, Star is cute. Bringing things back to Asha, like I said earlier, she is kind of plain, but that's mostly when you compare her with everyone in Rosas, because she kind of blends in with the rest of them. But in an isolated setting, she does have a really nice design. I just wish that, again, she stuck out more and maybe some accents, some other kind of colors or whatever on her outfit would help, but I'm not a fashion designer, so it's hard for me to really weigh in on this. I just wish they could have done more with her. Once again, she is aesthetically pleasing. There's just something that could have been done better, I feel. I also think that Magnifico has a cool design, and it matches his personality pretty well. So the best I can say about the art and animation is that while it has some good aspects, it leaves a lot to be desired. Part 4, the songs. I'd like to start this section off with a disclaimer. I know a lot of people have complained about the lyrics feeling stale/uninspired and feeling as if they were created by AI. I'm sure they weren't, but the accusation is still there. But I don't fully feel comfortable joining in on that conversation, as I feel like I don't have a right to comment on it, considering I unironically like the Baby Shark song, even with its simple lyrics, and there's probably some other songs with simple lyrics that I like as well. Then again, the comments about Wish's lyrics aren't that they're simple, it's that they're nonsensical and or just written poorly. Sure, Disney should be held to a higher standard, but I'm just looking to be entertained. So, if the song has decent lyrics, a good beat, and great instrumentals, or at least, the last two, and those two are so great that I'm distracted and can't really notice the lyrics, then I'm all set. Are some of the lyrics in the songs in Wish kind of clunky? Yes, absolutely. But again, if I'm entertained, I don't really care. Having said that, Wish had a very weak musical start in my opinion. I was not impressed by Welcome to Rosas. All I could think was how it seemed like the diet version of the family madrigal and without any of the charm. The song wasn't catchy and it wasn't doing a very good job hyping up Rosas as Asha was attempting to do with the new citizens. The dance in it was cute for the 3 seconds it was featured, but that's about it. At All Costs is a song sung by Asha and Magnifico, and it absolutely sounds like a love song. And that is so distracting. I know they are singing about the wishes, but if you had no context, you'd think they were singing about one another. I've heard that this song was supposed to be a love song between Starboy and Asha, but when Starboy was taken out, they decided to keep the song anyway. The tone is just so romantically coded. I know it could also easily be heard as a paternal love song as well, but I don't know. Either way, the vocals were nice, but the song didn't grab me. I See the Light and A Whole New World and Can You Feel the Love Tonight? It is not. I found this Wish to be one of the weaker I Want songs. Is it horrible? No. Is it a little bit catchy? Sure, but I wasn't exactly eager to listen to it again. Don't get me wrong, Ariana DeBose sang it beautifully. I just wasn't captivated by it. I was also expecting a high note at the end, but instead, the final line of, "So I make this wish to have something more for us than this," ends on a medium range note, I guess that's how you explain it, and on a quarter note at that, which simply means that the last word, this, is sang on a single beat instead of held for multiple beats. This, of course, is just a personal gripe. I'm a Star is sung like only 3 or 4 minutes after this wish, which I found really soon for a song after another song. This isn't necessarily a complaint, I just found that interesting and slightly distracting at the beginning of the song. I was actually grooving to I'm a Star, not gonna lie. It was the first song of the movie that had any life, color, and fun rhythm stuff going on with it. Ensemble songs are kind of my weakness, as I think adding so many singers to a song just makes it feel more grand and like an event. This song has its problems though. My goodness, does it have issues. 1, the scene in itself is kind of pointless. It felt like the movie grinded to a halt to make way for these animals singing. The first time I listened to the song, I couldn't even hone in on the lyrics most of the time because I was so distracted by this seemingly random event. And maybe that's why I was okay with this song initially. Now that I think about it. Since I wasn't focusing on the lyrics. This is the song where Asha discovers that everyone is a star, but I don't know, I feel like she could have come to this conclusion without this song. It's hard for me to 100% say that this song is pointless because what Asha learns helps her in the final battle, but it's weird. I just can't help but think it's either out of place or lasts for too long. What do you guys think? As I alluded to, this is one of the songs that definitely has some clunky lyrics, borderline incoherent. I admittedly cringe at the part near the end of the song when the animals nonsensically attempt to make rhymes for the word star, and it's honestly cringy. Does it sound like they're just saying stuff with the attempt to sound deep, philosophical, and quirky all at once? Absolutely. Does it sound like someone who talks a lot and uses a lot of big words in order to sound smarter? You bet. But I was almost willing and able to mostly ignore that for its sheer entertainment value. You know, as an isolated music video that's not related to the movie. But honestly, the one solid thing that kept me from putting this on a playlist, again, initially, aside from the terrible rhymes near the end, is the line, "See, that's where all the balls of gas come from," which is one of the few contributions to the song from Valentino. I have this thing where I don't like certain words or ideas to be in songs. I'm sure I'm not alone in that, but for me personally, I don't like the word gas or gassy to be in a song. There are other words as well that would ruin a song for me, but gassy kept me from fully liking For the First Time in Forever from Frozen, and gas, along with a few other things, keeps me from giving this song a pass. I understand that, lyrically and intellectually, they are referring to the actual flaming balls of gas in space that are stars, but the way that Valentino sings it, it feels like he's doubly referring to bodily functions, and that didn't sit right with me. It's also why I don't like the 2019 Lion King's version of Hakuna Matata, and why I prefer the original 1994 version where they censored directly mentioning Pumbaa's specific problem. Moving on to This Is the Thanks I Get, I know that this is the song that seems to be getting the most flack due to its lyrics. The "I let you live here for free and I don't even charge you rent," among other lines. So yes, similarly to I'm a Star, there are some clunky lyrics here. But I can overlook that fact for this song due to how fun the song is overall. It's a different kind of villain song from how spunky it sounds, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. At least not in my opinion. I just appreciate the energy in the song and the visuals are pretty cool. What with the Magnifico reflections, the tiny wooden people, and the evil green magic. Magnifico trying to keep his cool while also descending into madness is also fun. Is it the best Disney villain song? No, not by a long shot, but I had a good time with it, so it earned its spot on my playlist. I'd like to note though that this song mostly only works in isolation because in the context of the movie, the whole vanity bit at the beginning doesn't quite fit with what happened in the scene before it. So, you know, story-wise, this song is kinda but by itself, it's a fun song. Knowing what I know now might be my favorite song in the movie. Either this one or the next one. Like I said earlier, I love ensemble songs. I have a soft spot for them, so that, plus the intense bass and war drums, and it's just catchy. There's a lot of nice voices in here, and I feel like the singers had fun singing it. I'm not quite sure what's going on in the background of this song because whatever the characters are doing has no payoff whatsoever, so I guess they just needed something for the characters to do. But other than that, nothing much more to say about it. I like the song. I like it a lot. The reprise for This Wish is my other favorite song. While I didn't tremendously care for the song when Asha sang it by herself, the reprise is much more dynamic and has a lot of things working in its favor. The reprise starts slow with a desperate Asha singing, but with every new voice added, the instrumentals and voices themselves become more powerful and confident and layered, and the song speeds up slightly to show the hope arising in everyone. And again, it's an ensemble song, so you already know I was on board. Like with the first version of This Wish, I would have preferred that the song ended on an elongated high note, especially to differentiate it from the first version even further. That is honestly my only gripe with it. I heard people complaining that this part of the movie is a bit nonsensical because the all-powerful Magnifico, who was on top of the world, was suddenly defeated by the people of Rosas singing a song. And yes, I see how that could be jarring, if you just explain it with so few words like that. but I understand that this isn't exactly what happened. Asha was rallying everyone, telling them that Magnifico can't take their dreams and wishes. Not really. They have that power inside of them already, and nothing he can do will extinguish that hope and magic. They'll fight and they won't back down. They won't rely on him anymore. Magnifico underestimated everyone and ended up losing because of it. So I personally don't have a huge problem with how this song/final battle was executed. Does the citizens' sudden realization of their hidden potentials fully explain why or how Magnifico got trapped in his scepter? No. No, it doesn't. But I choose to not fully acknowledge it, as I don't tremendously care about that detail. I don't really have an opinion on the song that was sang during the end credits called A Wish Worth Making, as I was too distracted watching the sparkly Disney drawings on the sides to really focus on it. But all I know is that it didn't grab my attention enough to care, and I don't really care to go search and listen to it, so yeah. Part 5, the moral/message of the movie. The overall message seems to be that you shouldn't 100% rely on someone else to make your dream/wish happen for you. It's giving them too much power, and you're not giving yourself enough credit in making it a possibility. If you wish for something, put in the work to make it happen. You'll encounter some pitfalls, but your dreams should be worth fighting for. It's okay to have help and support, but don't put it fully on someone else. As a Christian, I know fully well that God is 100% capable of making all of my dreams and wishes a reality with the snap of his fingers. He, however, doesn't want me to be lazy, so he wants me to put in the effort as well as rely on him. If it's within his will, it'll happen as long as I persevere and stay strong with his strength through the trials. But if it's not meant to happen, it won't. But the cool thing about us is that we can both keep dreaming and find new dreams. As long as we're alive, we can continue to take steps forward. Wish's lesson is a pretty good one. I think it kind of coincides with the lessons from Princess and the Frog. Tiana already knew to not rely on a star or magic to make her dreams come true. She believed in hard work, but working too hard can also make you end up missing out on the best parts of your life, so one must find a good balance to it all. Anywho, yes, good lesson there, Wish. One problem though. You kind of undermined your message by giving Asha the ability to grant wishes. Or the future ability, as she's not that great at using magic yet. I know you wanted to sneak in her becoming a fairy godmother because 100 year cinematic celebration and we gotta have our references, but it did kind of hurt your credibility. It almost seems like nothing was learned. We could have used a few extra lines on how Asha won't grant every wish, or that she'll only use her magic to support others and not grant their wishes in their totality. Because as it stands, the only difference between her and Magnifico is that she'll actually grant more wishes than he did and be a bit nicer about it. Way to go, Disney. You did not stick the landing. Which shouldn't be that big of a surprise considering how often you fumbled throughout this production. Epilogue: 100 Years of Disney. Is Wish the worst movie ever? No. Is it the worst Disney movie ever? Also no. People absolutely overreacted. Do I ever plan on seeing Wish ever again? On my own? No. It's not like it's painful to watch or anything. I definitely watch it over some other movies. Turning red. Excuse me. But unless I'm watching others react to it or reviewing it, I probably won't watch it voluntarily. Wish is simply okay. I don't find it offensive, and it has good things about it. I just can't say that it was particularly inspiring. Did it deserve to be the 100-year cinematic celebration for Disney? Well, had it gone through with its original plans? Maybe. But as it is, unfortunately, no. I think that's why so many people dislike it or give it a hard time. Wish was hyped for so long. It had so many expectations and so many people excited for it. But it just wasn't as epic or full of love and care as many of us would have wanted. Despite the cute references, along with the overly forced ones, Wish doesn't really feel like a Disney love letter. There's just something hollow about it. And the references themselves just feel kind of superficial. It doesn't feel special. It's just a regular movie. A safe, regular movie. A regular movie that had the unfortunate fate and pressure of being the movie to celebrate 100 years of Disney, while Disney is the way that it is at this point in time. I'm not mad at Wish. I just feel bad for it. Because quite frankly, with everything considered, it never stood a chance. Once Upon a Studio, however, did feel special. It's only about 8 minutes long, but so much more love and attention was put into it. The premise of the short is simple. All of the animated characters from Disney movies are getting together to take a picture for Disney's 100-year celebration at the animation studio. It not only included characters from all animated Disney movies, both the really popular and really obscure ones, but it respected the various animation styles, CG and hand-drawn, even trying to make the older styles look like it came straight from those older movies. There's new voice lines from characters as well as audio from the original movies. And there's unused audio such as Robin Williams for the genie in Aladdin. There's so much movement and so much going on at all times that one would have to watch Once Upon a Studio multiple times just to properly see everything. The short ends with everyone singing When You Wish Upon a Star, and it's so sweet. I definitely teared up at the end. I would have been fully content if this was all Disney did to celebrate 100 years. It's really beautiful, and it shows that Disney is still capable of that magic if they apply themselves. Disney has lost a lot of its magic over the past several years, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Sure, the recent movies still have their fans, but largely, many of us can sense that something is different, and it doesn't feel like they care as much. I have no doubt that the people who work on these movies work really hard. I am so sure that they do, and I appreciate their hard work. But nevertheless, I can't get behind so much of what Disney produces nowadays. I'm disappointed with Disney, but I can't hate it. Disney brought me so many great memories, and the movies and shows I grew up with aren't exactly going anywhere. I know Disney has the potential to be great again. It's gone through dark times and valleys before, so let's just hope that sooner rather than later it'll bounce back. And now I open the floor to all of you. Did you like Wish? Why or why not? Did you like any of the songs? Would you also have preferred the villain couple and the Starboy and Asha romance? Comment below and let's get this conversation started. If you enjoyed this video, just remember that I'm the artistic Aloubell. I review things, I rant sometimes, and rewrite stories occasionally. I'd appreciate it if you subscribed and joined the family of bells where we chill in the bell tower, adhere to the golden rule, and use cookies as our currency. If any part of this video spoke to you, feel free to leave a comment and a cookie. But as for now, that's all there is. There isn't any more.